Part 37. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 361. While speaking, a cold light dripped from Muhan's fingertips and turned into a snowflake. In his palm, a tiny blue magic circle slowly condensed. Yes, that is the prototype of the Godhead domain. The Godhead resides in the main body of the Creator, and can be released at any time as long as you want to use it. However, the Godhead domain is also limited. It cannot be released continuously, and there is a time limit and a certain risk of damage. Therefore, many creators, or gods, unless it is a life and death duel or a critical moment, the Godhead domain will not be used. But the current situation is obvious to all the sons of God. Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingqiang, respectively, got the final boss, the last blow of the two forms. Only by killing them can the lost points be regained. This time, it is no longer someone's order and command, but is closely related to every son of God. For this reason, they are ready to use the biggest killer move, the Godhead domain. A Godhead domain that can only be activated by inheriting the upper God? That pure energy, could it be that the 6 sons of the gods of the imperial capital are going to use the divine domain? Oh my God, this is the first time I have seen the divine domain inherited from the upper gods. Excited, I am already excited. Take a screenshot quickly. Today's hot search content is this. The actions of the sons of God set off a wave in the outside world. At the same time, it also made Xia Yunyu and the others alert. Tang Qingqiang was born in a big family and had contact with the imperial capital when she was a child. She knew very well how terrifying the divine domain of the upper gods was. Be careful. At this moment, the atmosphere of the whole venue was frozen. Even the players on the scene retreated one after another, fearing that they would be affected by the divine domain released by the sons of gods. Who knew that the old man named Gu Li, who was sitting in the center of the imperial capital, smiled slightly. What's wrong, Mr. Gu Li? The principal of the imperial capital showed a happy expression and looked back at the other party. He was very happy because the sons of gods were finally going to use their killer moves. At that time, no one can survive under that power that can be called a god. Millions of points will belong to the imperial capital. Haha, it's not that simple. I just want to say that the protagonists today are not these little guys. You, take a good look behind you. His old finger slowly raised and pointed at the huge corpse of the Demon King. Looking in the direction he pointed, at this moment, the principal present reacted. The huge corpse that should have fallen to the ground was emitting bursts of purple gas at this time. This gas spread and floated in every corner of the room. At the same time, the entire magnificent palace began to shake wantonly, and bursts of debris fell from the sky. The sons of God realized that something was wrong, and the spells cast in the divine field in their hands suddenly dissipated. What's going on? Why is the room shaking suddenly? Where are these purple mists released from? They block our vision. Oh no, look at the boss, the purple mist is released from the boss body. The boss is dead, why is he still releasing mist? Let's evacuate first. The players were confused and began to retreat quickly. The players who had just passed the trial and came here were also confused. Originally, the boss was killed, so they didn't think about this, they just came to ask for soup. Who knew that as soon as they entered, they saw this scene? Wait, is it my illusion or something? Why do I feel that this palace is cracking? It's not an illusion, I also have this feeling, there seems to be a crack there. This is not the palace cracking, but the space is torn. What the hell, my screen is cracked directly, how could this happen? Amid the exclamations of the audience in the live broadcast room, the palace room split apart. It was not a 3-dimensional split, but a 2-dimensional split, just like a piece of glass breaking. The audience felt as if their mobile phone or TV was broken. There was no light in the darkness. But the next second, except for the contestants in the trial level, the other contestants who entered the gate of hell were teleported out. Near the gate of hell, whirlpools opened from the sky, and batches of creatures descended from there. Some rolled, some crawled. The sons of God were closest to the gate of hell, and the 6 creatures landed safely. Following them, Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingcheng also came down. The contestants were confused and asked, "What happened? Why was I teleported out? Just now, I just felt that my vision was cracked, like glass was broken. Then, I was teleported out suddenly." Looking at such a scene, the contestants who were still near the gate of hell and preparing to enter were also puzzled. They were just about to enter the gate of hell, who knew that the contestants inside were actually teleported out. What happened? How come those players who went in were teleported out? What happened inside? Wasn't the boss eliminated? The players were talking and discussing. At this time, the members who were left outside by the 6 sons of God also came up to ask, "Captain, what happened to you guys in there just now? Why, were we teleported out suddenly?" Muhan was silent after hearing this. He and the other sons of God were all staring at the open door to hell with horrified eyes. Not understanding the situation, even the principals frowned slightly, showing expressions of thinking. Only Gu Li was still smiling. But at this time, there suddenly was an Imperial City player. As if he had awakened, he said sharply, "I know. It must be like this. Just because the boss is defeated, the boss battle is over and the players will be teleported back." His words made a group of people suddenly realize. Immediately afterwards, the contestant who spoke also led his own creatures and began to approach the gate of hell. "However, the boss battle is indeed over, but my teammate who went in and is challenging the trial level has not come out yet. As expected, the trial level is still there, and you can still get points as long as you enter it." The player's analysis was reasonable and well-founded, which made many people boo. That makes sense. If the boss is defeated, doesn't it mean that the boss level is closed? In this way, the players will be teleported out. The news that the boss has been killed is broadcast in a rolling manner throughout the competition area. Therefore, everyone knows this fact. Xia Yunyu won the final blow of the boss. In that case, what are you waiting for? Let's go in quickly. You can't get the points from the boss, but you can still get some points from the trial level. After saying that, the player who spoke first nodded slightly. Then, in order to verify this, I will demonstrate it to you personally now. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 362. His chi creatures, the trolls, began to run quickly. Led by the troll leader who was more than 20 meters tall, they stood under the gate of hell. Behind them, the players who believed this statement followed closely. "Trolls, prepare to enter the gate of hell." With a shout, the trolls were full of fighting spirit, raised their maces and waved them loudly. Then, the army migrated and rushed towards the gate. But just as they were about to step into the gate of hell, there was a sudden shake inside, and a sound like thunder sounded. Boom boom boom. The earth shook, as if the 18 layers of hell were shaking. "No, it's not like this. Quickly retreat." Muhan remembered something and hurriedly reminded the players in the same competition area. The latter turned his head and showed a puzzled look to Muhan. But when he felt something, it was already too late. The sky. It darkened. The players who rushed to the gate of hell also stopped, their eyes were horrified, and their faces were pale. The contestant in the shadow raised his head woodenly. The huge black shadow almost covered everything. It was a giant foot. A giant foot stepped out from the gate of hell and stepped down. The contestants were so shocked that they couldn't say a word, and could only stammer and make some incomprehensible sounds. "Wait, Don't. As his last scream came down, the huge foot landed. Suddenly, it was like a meteorite hitting the earth, setting off a momentum of heaven and earth. The strong troll below was completely unable to resist and was trampled into a meat pie in despair. The leader of the trolls raised his hands high, wanting to take this trampling by brute force. Who would have thought that the moment he touched, he was crushed into a meat pie by the overwhelming force and died instantly. The contestant was desperate and regretfully died in the unbelievable eyes. A sunken footprint appeared on the ground. Near the footprints, tiles collapsed, rocks cracked, trees fell down, and were blown up by the strong wind. Everything was razed to the ground. The players who were about to charge were scared. It was hard to imagine how tragic it would be if it was them. But at the same time, it also made them feel incredible. The player just now was more or less a genius in the Imperial Circle. The trolls on his hands were all power monsters, and they were good at fighting with strength. Not to mention the troll leader who was in the initial stage of command, but relying on strength, he could even fight against the creatures in the middle stage of command. But such a powerful army was completely annihilated under the crushing of a foot, which was really shocking. What the hell, how did he die? He stepped on more than 1,000 trolls with 1 foot, and even the troll leader didn't last a second. Monster, what kind of monster can do this? The sole of the foot alone is so huge, what does this guy's body look like? At this time, it was not just the players on the scene. The outside audience, the instructors and principals of various colleges and universities all looked solemn. The several star commanders gathered at the headquarters of the Star Alliance were 3 parts puzzled and 7 parts unbelievable. Under the gaze of the whole world, the gate of hell in the Eastern Division shook again, and even the 18th floor was shaking. Another huge foot also stepped out of the gate. Gradually, the full appearance of the monster gradually appeared in front of everyone. The whole body of black and red skin, strong and bulging muscles, and the sharp claws pointing vertically downwards. Its height is at least 1 kilometer, and its head is covered by clouds, so the players can only look up. And its head is in the shape of a prime minister's goat head, with scarlet eyes, bursting out terrible red beams. With the irregular sharp teeth, it looks extremely abrupt. The monster took another step, and a pair of extremely exaggerated demon wings behind it also emerged from the gate of hell. Its powerful strength made countless creators admire it. It was like the Emperor himself, making people unable to help but worship. In the headquarters of the Star Alliance, Hong Laoxingshui's eyes were dull and his mouth was slightly grinning. This feeling can't be wrong. You should be able to detect it, right? Beside him, Du Xing's Huai and Wang Ho also nodded with serious faces. This monster is Emperor. The whole audience was silent. Old man Gilai supported the armrests of the chair with both hands. Although his legs and feet were not good, he still tried to stand up. Please welcome today's protagonist. Hell Planet, the final boss of the 18th level of Hell, the third form, the Demon Emperor, Satan. Seeing this scene, several principals looked heavy and couldn't help twitching their brows. There is no doubt that the one standing in front of them, the creature that just wiped out the troll army in a blink of an eye, was an emperor-level creature. The highest realm below the god realm, a well-deserved emperor. This. The principals looked at each other, puzzled. This is too much. If a monarch-level creature is the final boss, it can be justified. But this third stage boss actually jumped directly to the emperor level. You know, the emperor and the monarch are not on the same level at all. It is a natural chasm that cannot be crossed. Is he doing this to make all the students wiped out? This, Gu Li Xingjiang. The emperor-level creature is so big, I'm afraid the students can't fight it. Gu Li shook his head with an indifferent expression. In terms of the Eastern Division alone, there are more than 2,000 members present. Those who have stayed until now are guaranteed to be seeded players from various provinces. Is there a problem with so many of them fighting against the Emperor-level creature? Hearing this, the principal said nothing more. The world-class boss battle, the boss's strength should be very high. Otherwise, why would it be necessary to gather the power of the world to fight? But in this case, there is still a problem. What if the number of remaining players is less than 128 at the end, then there will be fewer people in the third stage. However, Guli still shook his head. Those who can appear here are all the greatest in this golden age. If they gather together, they can't even defeat the Emperor, or they will win miserably. Then there is really no need to participate in the third stage of the competition. After saying these words, he supported his aging body and sat down slowly. At this time, the creators on the scene were all ready to fight. Facing the constant approach of the 1,000-meter creatures, waves of pressure followed. Even the 6 sons of God in the imperial capital were sweating on their foreheads. Emperor. There is no doubt about it. Only the strongest realm under the divine realm can have this power. With a wave of his hand, he can suppress everything in the world and make countless creatures tremble and worship. This is the true Emperor's attitude. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 363. Emperor, the third stage of the boss battle is actually an Emperor-level creature. Too scary, the power of the Emperor is a power that only the 5th-level creator can master. That's right, the strongest below the God realm, even some 5th-level creators, cannot really cultivate an Emperor. What should the contestants do, and how much chance do they have of winning against the Emperor? Amid the conversation, the behemoth has already dominated the world. It raised one hand and opened its sharp claws. Instantly, a series of low roars came from the goat's head. It seemed to be chanting some spells, causing the red doors under it to open. From the inside, batches of red demons flapped their tattered wings and flew out. They roared and screamed, and a strong murderous intent burst out of their red pupils. The coalition of these demons has perfectly surpassed the standard level of the Hell planet and reached the level of all warriors. The sons of God are still calm, they have the ability to deal with it. But other players would have lost their composure when they saw the demons coming. With so many warrior-level creatures, one can beat at least 3 peak slaves. Besides, how could they have so many peak slaves? They are only at the high level of slaves, so they are not opponents at all. Damn, there are too many of them, and their realm is too high. We can't win at all, how can we fight against the real Emperor? There were wailing sounds at the scene, and many players were afraid without fighting. The sudden change caused the confrontation between the Son of God and Xia Yunyu and others to be temporarily interrupted. In this situation, they had to put aside their grudges and focus on dealing with the Emperor-level boss. After all, an Emperor-level creature is definitely in the final stage, and its points will not be much lower than Xia Yunyu. Remember to keep an eye on the 2 people in Sulan province. If they want to log off in the chaos, stop them. Muhan made a double guarantee, he was afraid that Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingcheng would log off in the chaos. They have enough points now, so it is possible to do so. We can't let them run away. Humph. Don't lose your composure. This is an Emperor-level creature. We have to unite to fight it. From now on, stop all internal fighting and get points from the boss based on your ability. The 6 head gods of the imperial capital stood up and called on a group of players with their leadership. Those who can get here are naturally not stupid. They know very well that in the face of Emperor-level creatures, they can only unite and face the outside world. Otherwise, no one can get benefits from such a boss. The gods have spoken, and there will be no problems with them in charge. Let's gather together quickly and keep up with the gods, don't fall behind. Under the command of the back row players, the creatures were no longer afraid and began to move closer to the six gods. At this time, Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingcheng had no intention of fighting with the six people again. They were not going to go offline. For the sake of Sulan province, they had to fight against this final boss. Muhan took action first, with the cold blade hanging high in the sky. Extreme cold blade. With a loud bang, the extreme cold blade opened its eyes. The deep blue pupils opened, and the cold air slashed out, sounding bursts of sonic booms, piercing the silver dome. Penetrating the clouds, this attack hit the giant boss with a bang. The ice air that exploded froze the surrounding clouds and began to rain hail on the ground. But the final boss, the Demon King, seemed to be unharmed. There was only a place on his chest that was covered by ice. Is it useless? Mu Shenzi's trump card is close to the peak of leadership. Such a blow can't cause any damage to it. The players who had just ignited hope couldn't help but feel guilty when they saw this. But the next second, Mu Han's points continued to soar. At the same time, a red line appeared on the top of the Demon King's head. The line began to retreat, and the original part became transparent. And every player witnessed the scene with their own eyes. Above the line, the number that was originally 100 became 99.56, a total decrease of 0.44. This can't be. The boss's health, right? Those who have played Genshin Impact know that the health bar will be displayed above the boss's head. If the health bar disappears, the boss will die. Let me try to, Fiery Sword Saint. Hongyan took the lead and pursued the victory. At this time, the great sword in the hand of the Fiery Sword Saint slashed out, turning into a fire dragon with a wide mouth, rushing towards the Demon King. Under the gaze of the players, the fire dragon dispersed after hitting. Like fireworks blooming, gorgeous and colorful. But the most important point is that there is a group of obvious burn marks on the boss's body. The dim red line on its head suddenly lit up again, decreasing by 0.33 again. It's less, it's really less. It can't be wrong, it must be like this. That red line is the boss's health bar. The two sons of the imperial capital just attacked and almost knocked off 1%. All of a sudden, the despair just now disappeared. The contestants found their target, the health bar. The boss was attacked, but it was not unscathed. It was just that the damage was so small that it was almost invisible. But Hongyan and Muhan worked together to knock down nearly 1% of the opponent's health. Now that so many players have joined forces, victory is not far away. The points dropped from this boss are so high, let me take some too. At this time, Yan Yan couldn't help it. He directly mobilized all creatures, commanded by the purple thunder dragon. Bursts of lightning burst out from the ground and hit the Demon King head-on. Yan Yan's points increased significantly, and this time he directly hit up to 1% of the output. A burnt mark appeared on Satan's chest, which completely angered the opponent. Roar! A low roar came from the sheep's head, and he opened his 5 claws. In an instant, small black balls protruded from its fingertips. Then, it attacked the ground indiscriminately, exploding in a mess. The creatures were overturned, and black balls were constantly generated in Satan's hands, as if there was no end. The attack is too high, we can't withstand a few hits. We can't be led by him by the nose, we have to take the initiative to attack. The players realized the current situation and began to organize a counterattack. The boss is too high, and the output distance is not enough. The flying big creatures are in front, we send the high output creatures up. In an instant, a group of death squads were formed. The front row of meat walls were cast, facing the dense black balls like raindrops. The long-range output creatures following behind were not to be outdone. After arriving at the right position, various beams were shot out, sweeping like a storm. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 364. After hearing the sound, more and more players gathered near the gate of hell. Gradually, there were more than 1,000 people, and they ordered nearly 1,000,000 troops to surround the boss's feet tightly. Looking around, it was a dark mass, like a locust passing through, leaving no grass. There were too many creatures, such a vast scene, even many fifth-level creators from the outside world could not help but exclaim. Although they are strong, they have only played dungeons at most, and have never seen such a scene. Nearly 1,000,000 troops. The Demon Emperor on the other side was also constantly summoning monsters from the portal. The two armies fought each other, and the battle was extremely tragic. Only the principals and members of the Star Alliance who were in high positions, fought against alien races, and participated in large-scale battles could remain calm. However, the Emperor-level boss was not easy to mess with. It continuously released black spheres, which exploded when touched, and killed in a wide range. The creatures charged forward with the determination to die, facing the attack that was like a meteorite impact. The Eastern Division was fighting fiercely, while the Western Division slowed down and was still at the boss level of the second stage. It was not that Bai Xingguan did not want to end it quickly, but there was no way to end it. At a glance, more than 100 contestants were standing in a row in the palace, and all the creatures shrank in the corner. They seemed to be afraid of something, their bodies were stiff. And what they were afraid of was in the front. That's right, the black goat cubs formed a wall, blocking the creatures' steps forward. There was only one creature that fought against the boss of the second stage, the Destruction Tyrant, the goddess of darkness and plenty. The black goat of the forest. A creature as famous as the myth, singled out the boss of the second stage. There was no other way, Bai Xingguan needed to get more points. So, she controlled all the contestants present and only let the generals in her hands to single-handedly brush the final boss. It is strange that there are more than 100 players on the field, almost 100,000 troops. Facing only more than 1,000 black goat cubs, no one dared to resist, but just stared at Bai Xingguan alone to kill the boss. But to be honest, the black goat mother goddess of the forest is only at the level of a high-level commander. It is still very difficult to face the monarch head-on. Although it is different from other creatures, it has a god-level blood in its body, also known as the outer god blood. But the gap in level is not easily overcome. Therefore, Bai Xingguan fought with it for so long, but there was no winner. But if you observe carefully, you will find that Bai Xingguan's current points have exceeded 10 million. Relying on the buff of double points bonus, he has left Xia Yunyu, the second in the country, far behind. It's just that the Eastern Division is fighting fiercely at the moment, attracting the attention of the audience, and not many people can pay attention to this side. As for Bai Zi, he is still in the trial level. The boiling magma sea was boundless and nothing could be seen. There were only protruding rocks to step on, and magma monsters would occasionally emerge from the magma sea to attack. In this mode, it was like being exiled into an ocean, and it was impossible to tell the direction. The 5 major tribes stepped on the stone steps and killed many magma monsters along the way, but they still couldn't find the way out. Although they gained a lot of points, they also wasted a lot of time. Fortunately, Xia Yunyu was outside and had done everything she could, so Bai Zi didn't need to worry too much. "My lord, there is light ahead," Aurora reported. Looking forward, along the protruding rocks, a portal appeared. The light was bursting out from the portal. Finally found the exit. Bai Zi didn't hesitate and immediately ordered the creatures to move forward. At this time, except for the world prompt sound, he hadn't contacted Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingcheng for a long time. "I don't know how they are doing, and whether there will be any accidents." Boom! Just then, the lava bubbled, and a huge figure emerged from the bottom of the lava. It was a sticky monster with lava flowing all over its body, blocking the portal. It led a group of younger brothers to drill out, exuding strong malice towards Bai-Ze. It seems that the last little boss of this trial level should be you. Bai-Ze smiled lightly, and the creatures launched an attack eagerly. Go. On the other side, Qin Xinlian, who followed Bai-Ze, also found the exit of the trial level. Flying over the volcano, looking at the entrance of the volcano, a red vortex was spinning at the bottom. Finally found the exit. Go in, we have missed 2 stages of the boss, and even Bai-Ze has lost track. Next, there can be no more accidents. After that, a group of creatures head down and rushed into the transmission channel one after another. Not only Bai-Ze and Qin Xinlian, but also the other contestants in the trial level have more or less completed the trial tasks. They had intended to enter the boss level, but they were teleported out and landed in different locations. At this time, after a long period of conquest, more and more players were forced to log off. Hundreds of thousands of creatures were overwhelmed by the terrifying demon army. Fortunately, players from the upper level continued to enter and join the battlefield. Overall, the player camp suffered little loss, and there was always a constant influx of fresh blood. Although the Demon King was in a transcendent state and could summon monsters, he could not resist the encirclement of 1,000,000 troops. Under the strong offensive of various types and races, it gradually fell into decline, and its health was reduced by more than half. However, the players were also very tired. As the battle progressed, they found that the combat power of the Demon King was constantly rising. The lower the health, the higher the defense and the higher the damage. At first, it seemed very easy to knock down its bloodline. But the difficulty began to increase later, and even the 6 sons of God found it difficult to shake its blood. Hoo. This monster's blood was finally knocked down by half. Yes, hundreds of players have already been killed. Fortunately, we still have a lot of people here. According to this sign, we should be able to kill it in the end. For the huge points, the players also fought hard. The demon soldiers can be summoned unlimitedly. As long as the boss is not dead, there will always be demon soldiers. In a blink of an eye, it condensed into an army of more than 100,000, and it is impossible to kill them all. Therefore, many players fell at the feet of these demons. But just when the players were full of confidence and were ready to defeat the boss with this method, something strange happened. The boss, whose health was reduced by more than half, was surrounded by a red light. The attack on it actually lost its effect, as if it was covered with a layer of shield. A player discovered the abnormality at the first time and exclaimed, "Look at the sky." Thousands of players and millions of creatures looked up at the sky following this voice. There, the sky was dark. A scarlet magic circle composed of multiple 5-pointed stars covered the sky. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 365. The players in the field were at a loss and looked around. They saw that the magic circle began to extend downwards, and a red transparent barrier blocked the surrounding area. Until it touched the ground, a magic circle also rose up, echoing up and down. Together with the barriers around, it formed a spectacle like a cage. What is this red magic circle? Why did it release a circle of barriers? No, I didn't lose blood when I hit the boss. Why did this setting appear? Look, the barrier that suddenly rose can't be hit, and we can't get out. It was too late to notice something wrong. Being divided by the barrier, not only the players inside couldn't get out, but the players outside couldn't get in either. This means a very serious problem. As long as the barrier is not broken, there will be no fresh blood flowing in. At that time, there will be a lack of support. Once the players inside fall into a slump, they will soon be overturned. What's going on inside? We can't get in. I saw the boss, but this broken barrier blocked me. Let's try and see if we can get it open. Outside, the players heading to the 18th level of hell were blocked by this barrier. There was no other way, so they began to try to break the barrier and ordered the creatures to attack with all their strength. Inside the barrier, the players who were fighting were also trying to find a solution. I guess this should be a mechanism. The boss's health just dropped below 50%, and this barrier was triggered. I'm afraid if its health continues to drop, there should be other mechanisms triggered. The players probably understood after hearing this. That's the only way. Some people will deal with the boss first, and some will try to break the barrier. Otherwise, we will be at great risk. The players reached a consensus on the goal and began to work together. 1/3 of the people were dispersed and concentrated on attacking the barriers behind them. Energy beams of various colors were shot out one after another, constantly impacting the barrier, shaking the ground. At the same time, after releasing the magic, the blood lock on the boss disappeared. Without the red light protection, the players can cause damage to it again. Gulixing, this barrier is nothing, just a simple setting. Relying on the human wave tactics alone will make them win very easily. It also requires a little sudden change to test the players on the spot reaction ability. After that, a row of people stopped talking. Looking ahead, the battle began to pour towards the boss. Because there was no fresh blood influx, and 1/3 of the players were missing, the remaining players seemed weak. Facing the demon soldiers that could increase unlimitedly, it was very difficult to resist. At the same time, Transmigration, who had been in the trial for a long time, was finally teleported out. A piece of red fell from the sky, landed in a corner of the forest, and occupied the vicinity. After Transmigration came out, he found that he was actually outside and showed a little doubt. In addition, she saw at a glance the red barrier covering a large area in front of the forest. And the boss, whose body was so huge that he could be clearly seen from such a distance. So, she contacted her 2 surviving members without saying anything with doubts. What's the situation now? Captain? Is it the captain? You finally came out. The team members were delighted, but Transmigration didn't say a word. Ahem. Captain, the current situation is not optimistic. Since the appearance of the boss of the 3rd and final stage, we have lost millions of players. Can you see those barriers? They prevent new players from entering to conquer the boss, so. Transmigration listened silently, and gradually she understood what was going on. At this point in time, it was impossible to get in unless the barrier outside was broken. But the players had been busy for a while, but the damage to the barrier was not great, and only a few slight cracks appeared. I understand. I'll break the barrier outside. But before that, I have to do something. After that, the connection between the 2 sides was disconnected. Transmigration looked forward, her fiery red pupils glowing. After defeating the last small boss of the trial level, Bai also successfully came out. However, when he came here, he behaved similarly to Transmigration. Theoretically speaking, shouldn't he be teleported to the boss level? How did he return to the outside world? Bai was confused and contacted Xiaoyunyu and others. From them, he learned a series of events, including the barrier blocking the scene. Are you okay now? Not very good, all my family members are gone. Oh. There is only one advanced seraphim left, and it is seriously injured. There is a risk of being ambushed at any time. Xiaoyunyu knew that her current situation was very dangerous, but she still stayed. After all, the bigger the wind and waves, the more expensive the fish. Even though there is only one seraph left, he can stay and kill monsters. With the buff of doubling his points, he can still get a lot of points. Even if he wants to escape later, Tang Qingcheng can assist him. Okay, I'll go right over. The final stage of the final boss has appeared, and this is indeed the last one. Moreover, all the sons of God in the imperial capital, including the aces of each province, will gather there. The final holy war is about to start. How could Bai-Ze not participate? But just as he was about to order the creatures to move forward, a group of fireballs attacked from not far away. Fortunately, the meteor bugs reacted in time and unfolded their shells to protect the creatures below. Fireball? Where did it come from? Bai-Ze showed a puzzled and cautious expression. Suddenly, the sky on the other side was illuminated by fire. The remaining thousands of fire cranes, led by the eight-tailed colorful phoenix, drove towards Bai-Ze. The latter recognized it at a glance. Isn't this GeniusProtagonist? Damn, the ghost is still lingering. Bai-Ze's eyes were dull, and he couldn't help complaining. At this moment, before he could speak again, the fire phoenix cried out first. Many fireballs were summoned from the clouds and smashed down one after another. Boom boom. Bai-Ze's creatures ran and defended, rushing towards the direction of the barrier. I said, how come I can meet you everywhere? Now the boss's third stage has started, and his health has exceeded half. It's the last moment. With so many points, why do you keep staring at me? Bai-Ze has never wanted to fight with GeniusProtagonist. God knows how many times the phoenix can be reborn. Not being able to kill is a small matter, wasting time is a big matter. With this time, it is better to hunt the boss. As long as you get the last blow, isn't it better than killing GeniusProtagonist in seconds? Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 366. Unfortunately, GeniusProtagonist remained unmoved. She is principled in everything she does and always does what she says. He said from the beginning that he would completely defeat Bai-Ze, and he would never break his promise. I chased him all the way just for this moment. Bai-Ze, stop running away and compete with me openly. If you win, I will naturally let you go and won't keep chasing you. GeniusProtagonist chased and shouted from behind, and fireballs fell from time to time. Gradually, the two caught up to the front of the barrier. A little further forward, you can see the players outside attacking the barrier. Bai-Ze was really annoyed and turned around immediately. Doughty, you will be the team leader for the time being. Lead the 4 tribes to go first and break down the barrier. Hippogyton stays, let's stop this guy here. Bai-Ze sent down the oracle. He felt that GeniusProtagonist was the kind of person who would never give up until she reached her goal. Seeing that Bai-Ze was approaching the barrier, if he wanted to go in and fight the boss, he had to break the barrier first. But looking at GeniusProtagonist like this, I'm afraid I won't fight her. On the contrary, she will not take action against the barrier, but will come to interfere with Bai-Ze. Simply, Bai-Ze kept the strongest player in the team, Hippogyton, to temporarily block GeniusProtagonist. Once the barrier is broken, chaos will reign inside, and GeniusProtagonist will be thrown away sooner or later. Obey my lord. I obey my lord's command. 2 deep voices sounded. As a result, the biological soldiers divided into 2 groups and dispersed quickly. My lord, there is a barrier blocking the road ahead. Is it the one we need to break through? Aurora has raised her longbow and is ready to attack at any time. That's the place, focus your attack and open it up with all your strength. After receiving Bai-Ze's order, the creature's steps slipped and they sprang out of the dense forest. In an instant, the players who were jointly attacking the barrier sensed movement around them and turned their heads. What's the news? Is anyone here again? It's so fast and the number is so huge. Which division are they from? When they saw that the person coming was Bai-Ze, they immediately exploded. Ikeo, isn't that the number and types of creatures from Bays in Surin province? How could it be him? Isn't Bai-Ze inside the barrier? No, look at his movements. Does he want to attack the barrier? One player pointed to Bai-Ze's position and shouted loudly. At this time, Bai-Ze completely ignored the eyes of the people around him. After a few swishes, the long-range blisters and arrow feathers were fired continuously. Jian Kanghu, who was fighting in close combat, pierced the long sword directly into the barrier, causing a burst of sparks from the friction. The Treants and Shield Tibetan Tigers were not far behind, using their bodies to hit the barrier like missiles. Because the head of the Shield Tibetan Tiger is a shield, not only will it not be injured, but it will also become more and more powerful. In an instant, under the powerful destruction of Bai-Ze's creatures, a ripple appeared on this barrier. Several leader-level figures are not far behind. The long sword form of Sword Shield Doughty has a penetrating power comparable to that of Jatan, the Death Scythe. The back and forth slashing made the barrier groan. Aurora cooperated with the Holy Spirit King Dragon's attack, shooting out a green beam of light, accompanied by emerald green arrows. The impact hit the center of the barrier and spread out a ripple. Under a concentrated offensive, Bai-Ze's barrier began to become unstable. After only a few minutes, it became weak and felt like it could break at any time. On the other side, Hypogeton, who was left behind by Bai-Ze, and his Meteor Zerg tribe formed a row of walls to block Qin Xinlian. Although you let go of a group of creatures. But I am also very happy to fight against your strongest creature. Qin Xinlian didn't waste any more nonsense and directly asked his generals to attack. Immediately, the Fire Phoenix hung high in the air and shot out like a rocket. Hypogeton watched the other party gradually approaching, and Bai-Ze's voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Block it. Upon receiving the order, Hypoge's crystal yellow pupils flashed. It suddenly raised its pincers and faced the Fire Phoenix that was launched like a rocket, eating its blow head-on. With a loud bang, the two leader-level creatures flew out in different directions. The difference was that a mournful scream came from the Fire Phoenix. What a hard carapace. No. It's a shield. Qin Xinlian seemed to have discovered something, her eyes filled with surprise. After the impact just now, the faint dust mist dispersed. The Fire Phoenix flew low in the air, and there were blood stains near its mouth, which kept flowing down. On the other hand, Hypogeton was unscathed. Just because a transparent ring-shaped barrier protected its entire body. This is Hypogeton's unique skill, the rebound barrier. For light skills, it can rebound almost 100%, and it can also offset melee attacks. It's our turn. After Bai-Ze finished speaking, Hypogeton waved his arms. Two arc-shaped yellow light slashes were shot out. Although Huo Fen was injured, it was only superficial, and he still moved very quickly. He easily dodged twice and avoided the arc-shaped light slash. But then, Hypogeton's offensive became more and more fierce. Lifting the pliers again, dozens of light bullets were fired. Then, there are huge black fireballs and various long-range skills that catch the opponent off guard. Boom! Finally, with an explosion, the Fire Phoenix was hit head-on. After the sharp scream, a black and red figure slowly fell from the sky. The gap in realm is huge after all. Even Qin Xinlian's immortal Phoenix was severely damaged. In desperation, the fire cranes attacked together and blocked the dying Phoenix. Bai-Ze did not intend to hold back, and directly ordered the meteor bugs to charge. The gorgeous colorful meteors streaked towards the ground, facing the fireballs that were continuously emitted, and the two collided head-on. The tragic battle also made the off-field players sigh. Are the creatures that command the peak so perverted? Transmigration trump card is not the same at all. After a few rounds, he was seriously injured and needed the protection of his subordinates. Hypogeton, give it a fatal blow. Hypogeton has more than this skill. It spread its pincers and suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it had teleported to the army of fire cranes and the phoenix. What's going on, so fast? Where did it come from? When Transmigration realized it, it was too late. Hypogeton raised his pincers, and a yellow light attached to them. It dropped down without any warning, and a burst of sparks flew out with yellow light spots, and then a long phoenix cry sounded, which was extremely tragic. It's gone. Has Transmigration's trump card been killed? A creature that commands a high level is too fragile, is it so easily killed in seconds? The live broadcast room was full of discussions. However, some viewers don't know Transmigration, so how could ByZe not understand it? After the attack, Hypogeton teleported back to the starting point. It knew very well that the big bird in front of it would probably be resurrected again. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. Creation of the world, binding God simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 367. Sure enough, within a few minutes, the already dead fire phoenix was ignited with a ball of fire. It was slowly lifted up by the flames and flew into the sky. ByZe wanted to try to see if he could completely kill it in this state. Simply, the idea was conveyed, and Hypogeton took action immediately. The body flashed and transformed into an afterimage, appearing behind the phoenix who was wrapped in fire. Its two pincers emitted light and stabbed from the back. Unfortunately, ByZe guessed wrong. This was not the way to kill it. The pair of pincers touched the flames, and although they were not burned, they were bounced away by a real force. Hypogeton was very vigilant. If a sneak attack failed, he teleported back and moved away, for fear of being counterattacked. Cracking. The cry of the phoenix continued continuously, and the phoenix flapped its wings, spreading the flames around it. Yes, it was reborn. The tail behind him surprisingly extended once again, entering the nine-tailed form. In addition to the flame coverage, colorful silk threads also appeared, which were somewhat similar to Kunpeng's. ByZe felt this strange power, and a flash of light flashed in his pupils. The realm has really improved. It seems that the previous experience was not an illusion, ByZe said to himself. The mythical beast phoenix in front of me seems to become stronger every time it is reborn. At the beginning, Dowdy fought with it and killed it in 3 strikes, 5 and 2. It didn't look like a god-level bloodline in the same realm at all. This made ByZe doubt whether he was too strong or the opponent was too weak. Until it was reborn for the first time, its power had increased a lot. By the 5th and 6th times, he was able to suppress Dowdy in a state of exhaustion. When the 9th tail was born, ByZe clearly noticed that the other party had reached the pinnacle of high-level leadership. In layman's terms, just like Muhan, he has reached the top in half a step. The vitality is really tenacious, just like Xiaoqiang who cannot be killed. This must be the 9th time. How can I kill you? Transmigration sneered at ByZe's question. You will never have an answer to this question. Because you can't beat me. Transmigration was very confident, even when facing ByZe's generals. She was not afraid of the only one in the Eastern Division, Hypogeton, who was at the top. Of course, Hypogeton didn't talk nonsense. His combat power is different from Dowdy, not only in terms of realm, but also in ability. Not to mention the half step to the peak of leadership, even the true peak of leadership, it doesn't take it seriously at all. In the blink of an eye, both of them shot out like rockets at extremely fast speeds. When Hypageddon got close to the opponent, he used teleportation and clones to keep draining him. The Fire Phoenix was still unable to fight back. However, compared to last time, the opponent has obviously become more durable. It withstood so many high attacks from Hypageddon and was still able to hover powerfully in the air. Baize guessed that although this thing can be reborn and immortal, there should be a limit or number of times. Otherwise, how could there be such a truly infinite and immortal creature? If you can die once and become stronger, doesn't that mean you will be defeated even if the true God comes? So there is no need for any plan at the moment, just try to kill the opponent a few times. If he waits for the other side of the barrier to break down first, he can leave directly without even needing to continue fighting with her. Hypageddon, focus your attack, don't give it a chance to breathe. Baize shouted, and the family members at the lower end also started fighting. At the same time, nearly all the players in the Eastern Division have reached the 18th floor. The fighting continued, and smoke rose everywhere. In front of a barrier, the contestants put aside their grudges for the time being. With Baize joining in, they all came over to help. Nearly 100,000 troops were assembled, and under the leadership of the high-ranking commander Baize, cracks were opened in the barrier. The cracks are intricate, but all extend toward the top of the barrier. When other players inside and outside saw this scene, they showed expressions of surprise and surprise. The barrier is cracked, the barrier is cracked. Get back quickly, I feel like it's going to explode at any moment. Hearing the shouts, the players led the creatures and hurriedly retreated behind them. But before I took a few steps, it was exactly as I said just now. The barrier covering nearly 1,000 kilometers collapsed in an instant. Red fragments filled the sky, pouring down like rain. On the other end, Dowdy used all his strength and struck with golden light. The golden sword in his mouth penetrated deeply into the barrier. As a result, the already shaky barrier becomes overwhelmed and breaks into pieces, causing a chain reaction. In the end, the entire barrier, which covered at least nearly 1,000 kilometers, shattered into multiple pieces. Seeing this scene, players inside and outside the Eastern Division cheered, as if celebrating victory. The barrier is broken, let's go in quickly. The boss doesn't have much blood left, but it's good to be able to drink some soup. Don't fall behind, rush after me. As soon as the barrier was broken, the players outside swarmed into the inside. Players who had fought against the boss before were also overjoyed. Now, reinforcements have finally arrived, and they can concentrate on fighting the boss. Hypageddon, that's enough, no need to fight anymore. The barrier in front has been opened and we can pass. Hearing Baize's order, Hypageddon, who was fighting with the Fire Phoenix, immediately pulled away and stopped his actions. I understand, my lord. After saying that, he raised his big claws and waved his hand. Suddenly, the meteor bugs seemed to have received a signal and retreated one after another. Wait, Baize, what do you want to do? Qin Xinlian looked around in confusion, trying to find Baize's figure. Who knew that the next second, the wings behind the meteor bugs fluttered and flew away quickly. Hypageddon directly used teleportation, and the distance between him and Qin Xinlian and the Fire Phoenix became larger and larger. Want to leave again? Catch up. Qin Xinlian saw this and asked the remaining creatures under his command to chase forward. The meteor bugs were still the same here, chasing Qin Xinlian, fighting all the way, but they were slowed down. But the four tribes led by Dowdy probably had about 4,000 people left. Without obstacles, they followed Baize's instructions and entered the barrier. At this time, the boss's scarlet blood bar emerged and bloomed in the hazy red mist. After clarifying the goal, the creatures quickened their pace and rushed to that place. In addition, the number of players gathered in front of the boss decreased. After lacking support, many creators were killed and their points disappeared. This recent situation was reflected in the provincial points ranking, and some provinces' points even began to be deducted. But what the six sons of God did not expect was that this barrier helped them a lot. Because at this moment, the boss has entered red blood. Only the last 10% is left, and it can be killed. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 368. And, not counting those who are coming. The number of people fighting the boss nearby has been reduced a lot. At this bloodline, even with 6 people, it is possible to kill it. Red. The boss has entered the red blood state. There is still 10% of the blood to completely destroy it. Everyone increase the firepower. But just as the players were attacking the boss like crazy, the boss who entered the red blood suddenly stopped. Then, it opened its goat head, and a ball of red light was gathering in its mouth. I won't let so many people survive. The further you go, the more difficult it will be. This wave of attack will also kill many players. Gu Lixingjiang spoke, and he spoke to the screen. Around him, the principals looked calm. Now, they can understand Gu Li's thinking. It's almost the same. There are only 128 people in one competition area who can enter the third stage of the competition. Others, whether present or absent, cannot enter the third stage of the competition. This means that it is okay for them to be offline permanently, and it will not affect the final result. On the contrary, they can use this emperor-level monster to train them and increase their strength. If someone is lucky, they can even change their fate. As for the seeded players, they have their own strength, so why would they be offline at the boss level? It is time for them to enter the third stage of the competition, and they have to enter the third stage of the competition. After all, people like Tanzian are really rare, and they are looking for death by taking the initiative to provoke the goddess. Boom! From the mouth of the Demon King, the red light turned into a beam of light and shot out. Along a straight line, it bombed hundreds of kilometers. The creatures on the road had no time to dodge and turned into charcoal in an instant, with no complete corpse. Looking at the ground, a shocking burn mark ran through the main battlefield. After entering the red blood state, the Demon King was like crazy, his eyes turned blood red, and beams of light began to spurt out of his mouth. Just that one strike just now, more than a dozen contestants were sent off the field. There were tens of thousands of creatures that were burned to death by the beams. The boss seems to be crazy after the red blood, try not to fight him head on. Be careful to avoid the light, if you are blown up, you will die immediately. The contestants talked to their own creatures and issued a series of instructions. At this time, the 6 sons of God looked at each other, as if they had reached some kind of consensus. Xia Yunyu and Tang Qingcheng were scattered on both sides, constantly consuming the boss from the flank. Who knew that suddenly several attacks flew from a distance, circling the boss's huge body, and accurately hit the seraph. If she hadn't been protected by the flames around her, she would probably have been killed in seconds by the sneak attack. What's going on? Enemy attack, is it a demon? Xia Yunyu turned her head anxiously. Tang Qingcheng also realized that something was wrong and followed Xia Yunyu to look. As a result, they found that there were several familiar figures standing in the sky above. The attacks just now were released by these figures. What are you going to do? The boss just got red blood, Xia Yunyu said sternly. There is no doubt that those figures are the generals under the 6 sons of God. Ha ha, Yan Yan sneered. Narrowed his eyes and showed a weird smile. It is because the boss is red blood that we came to you specially. Now, it's time for you to return the points you snatched. Just now, the 6 sons of God hit it off and made this decision. Or rather, they had this idea from the beginning, and now is a good time. The boss is crazy, which can kill more contestants for them to ensure that they grab the last blow. There are also Xia Yunyu and Tang Qing Cheng, who have to get rid of them while the boss is still alive. Otherwise, if the boss is robbed again, the sons of God will lose their minds. Of course, the most important thing is still to take the points from the two people and kill the emperor by the way. Who doesn't want to kill two birds with one stone? Yunyu, I'll help. Tang Qingcheng was about to say that she would help Xia Yunyu, but her creature was stopped after just 2 flights. The people blocking her were the same as always, Liao Liang and Ye Hui. Xia Yunyu, give up resistance, you are already at the end of the road. I'm afraid your seraph is not only exhausted, but also seriously injured. In this way, you can't survive from our hands. The sons of God gave orders, and waves of attacks flew out from different locations. Tang Qingcheng ordered the creatures to break through and wanted to go to reinforce Xia Yunyu. However, the clans under Liao Liang and Ye Hui were desperate and wanted to entangle her. On the other hand, Xia Yunyu was seriously injured and dying after 2 rounds of attacks, and could no longer resist. She knew very well that this time she might have really reached the end. Your hidden danger will finally be eradicated. It's a pity that you still used the precious S-level prop card to hold on until now. The final result is that you will become a skeleton under our feet and a stepping stone when we reach the top. Insignificant. Yan Yan clenched his fist, and the purple thunder dragon took advantage of the situation to send down several thunders. The seraph trapped in the center could not move, his whole body was numb, and he lost his ability to move. Seeing that she was blocked, the other 3 sons of God also took action immediately. The blazing sword saint thrust the blade downward, summoning 6 walls of fire to lock the seraphim inside. Although the seraphim has strong fire resistance, it can still feel the burning sensation when it is seriously injured. He, Earth Guardian, Zhu Wei shouted. The barrier of the triangle rose, locking the 4 people and Xia Yunyu inside. Xia Yunyu couldn't even transmit her voice, let alone get in from the outside. Mu Han, do it, this is your last chance. Zhu Wei turned his head and said to Mu Han. The seraphim has been completely locked and has nowhere to escape. At present, as long as you attack her, you can defeat her immediately. I understand, then I will obey your order. Extreme Cold Blade, cut off the broken flames. Then, the extreme cold blade flew upward, and after circling a circle, streams of pure cold air gathered in the body. It opened its eyes, and the cold air spread, rippling like ripples. Finally, the fully charged extreme cold slash burst out, destroying the world. Xia Yunyu looked at the oncoming cold light, her face was ashen, she had no more cards to use, this time she was really finished. Outside the triangle, Tang Qingcheng saw this and shouted desperately. However, her voice could not be heard at all, and the creatures could not reinforce. When her life was hanging by a thread, a very fast figure flashed by. The yellow-brown triangular barrier wrapped in the outside world shattered, like a piece of paper being cut. The golden silk thread pierced through the fire prison and thunder tribulation, and even shattered the extreme cold sword energy. Xia Yunyu was excited and stared at the bottom in disbelief. She knew. That person. Here it comes. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 369. The prison was broken, and the seraphim fell from above with wounds all over his body. Then, another colorful figure rushed out and caught the other party with his back accurately. Kunpeng spread his wings and circled under the dome, then slowly descended to the ground with the seraphim. The latter was unconscious, but after glancing at the colorful feathers with flowing light, he fell asleep peacefully. She knew this outfit, and she had known this powerful existence since she was born. She was frightened when they first met, and was defeated when they met again, until now, she was saved when they met. At least the other party was very trustworthy. After putting it on the ground, Kunpeng directly guarded nearby. In an instant, the Big Peng passed by, covering the sky and the sun. Under the scarlet sunlight, countless colorful figures passed by and stopped steadily beside Kunpeng. They formed a protective wall, standing in front of the seraphim with a firm face, whoever came would die. At this time, not far away, the Doubty, who had just cut through the earth barrier, stood in the sky. The golden sword in his mouth, which was a combination of sword and shield, trembled slightly, and a soft hum sounded. A red and blue cloak fluttered in the wind behind him, and a powerful aura spread out, forcing the four leaders to retreat. On the ground, a green figure riding a tree man attacked this side. Aurora stood on the top of the Holy Spirit King Dragon, with a longbow in one hand and a magic wand in the other. Her golden hair fluttered slowly, and her jade eyes revealed murderous intent. The tree people ran hard, and the earth was shaking under them. When the sons of God reacted, they were completely surrounded in all directions. The Sword and Shield clan came together, and the Sea Kings gathered below, and the dense army occupied the main battlefield. You have worked hard during this period. Next, leave it to me. Bai Zi's divine shadow appeared and hung in the sky on the other side. In an instant, everything inside and outside the field exploded. Seeing Bai Zi coming, although she expected it, Xia Yunya couldn't help but smile on her face. Even Tang Qingcheng took a deep breath and smiled slowly. Xiaobai, you are finally here. Bai Zi breathed a sigh of relief, and finally rushed over at the last minute. You did a great job during my absence. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we would be close to losing now. Bai Zi sighed. Xia Yunya shook her head and said, that's what I should do. This time, it's not in vain. I finally waited for you. Xia Yunya smiled sweetly, but looked a little tired. After holding on for so long, isolated and helpless, she still made it. Now that Bai Zi has come, she can rest at ease. Hey, hey, hey. Now is not the time for you to flirt. Bai Zi, I didn't expect that you could still get here under the siege of so many people. But we have been waiting for you. We accidentally let you run away last time, but we won't do that this time. Yan Yan narrowed his eyes and a fierce smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Humph! Bai Zi snorted coldly. No need. I'll stand here this time and never leave. Bai Zi stared at him with a firm look. Oh, you have guts. Zi Xiao Lei Long, let him see how powerful you are. Yan Yan gave an order, and Zi Xiao Lei Long flapped its wings with lightning and thunder on its side, and the lightning rolled. It roared, and spit out thunder balls from its mouth one after another, at a very fast speed. But Yan Yan just blinked his eyes, and the thunder balls all exploded less than 10 meters away from Zi Xiao Lei Long. The lightning that overflowed almost affected the latter. What's going on? Zi Xiao Lei Long's attack malfunctioned. Zi Xiao Lei Long hurriedly shook his head, wanting to explain something. But before it could speak, the sons of gods had already noticed the abnormality. On the opposite side, Doubty swung the golden sword in his mouth, and the weak lightning was exhausted. It also looked forward with contempt, as if saying, your attack is too slow. Oh my god, what kind of godly speed is this? Did you see it clearly just now? No, it's really too fast. It may not even take a second, and all the thunder balls that were sent out were cut off. The speed of the bullet screen in the live broadcast room scrolled faster, and many people's eyes were attracted here. Yan Yan was stunned and opened his mouth wide. No. It's not right. When I was fighting with you at that time, it was obviously not this feeling. What's going on? Did you use the props that enhance biological functions? Yan Yan was not the only one who was shocked. The other three sons of God next to him couldn't help swallowing. Even Muhan, who was the calmest, also held his glasses and pretended to be calm. The last time he fought against Bai Zi in the first layer of hell, although his creatures were strong, they did not reach such a perverted level. The launch of the thunder ball was comparable to the speed of lightning landing, less than a second. The monster with the sword in its mouth could actually rush over from such a long distance, cut off the lightning ball approaching the lightning speed, and then return the same way. So how fast is its own speed? Nothing is wrong. You saw it with your own eyes. This is the power of Daodi. Bai Zi opened his 5 fingers and suddenly closed them. Let them see the real divine beast level combat power. Roar, roar, roar. Roar, roar, roar. The ground, the sky, and all the creatures within sight began to roar after Bai Zi said this. The loud voice penetrated the eardrums and penetrated the world. A group of false gods are worthy of being with us. Just a little Pacific Ocean, you are so self-righteous. Now, kneel down for me. Daodi spoke in a deep voice and swung the long sword in his mouth. The remaining sword and shield clan attacked from different positions. In a hurry, the sons of God ordered their clans to resist. However, 2 fists cannot beat 4 hands, and Bai Zi has more creatures than them. Moreover, all members arrived at the battle generals, and they were also steadily crushed from the realm. Realizing that the situation was not right, Liao Liang and Yehui, who blocked Tang Qingcheng at that time, wanted to go over to reinforce the 4 sons of God. But now, the positions were reversed. Tang Qingcheng's dragon clan jumped and blocked in front of the 2. This time, it was her turn to stop the other 2. You've been blocking me for so long, now it's my turn. With me here, none of you can get through. Both sides showed anger, and the next moment, they collided one by one. Below, thick wooden vines flew into the air, and creatures were pulled down one after another. There was no choice, Zhu Wei was forced to let his Earth Knights make an emergency landing and confront Bai Zi's tree people head-on. The 2 sides, both strong men, fought back and forth. The lava giants met each other's nemesis, the army of the Sea Emperor. The Depens joined Kunpeng to protect the seriously injured Seraphim, and naturally they would not participate in the battle. The remaining Sword and Shield clan, alone against the Ice Kylan and the 2 major clans of Thunder Elves, were not afraid at all, shining brightly. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. Creation of the world, binding God simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 370. Not good. Supergravity monster, get rid of these tree people first. Zhu Wei is a rough man, he doesn't know anything else, he just knows how to rush. He gave an order, and the supergravity monster drilled out of the soil and rushed straight into the sky. At this time, his body was as light as a balloon. But when he reached the highest point and began to fall, he was as heavy as a meteorite. The speed was so fast that flames were rubbed all over his body. The molecules in the air had no time to dodge and were smashed apart by the impact, forming a layer of steam that covered the supergravity monster's whole body. When it was about to fall into the army of tree people, a huge figure flashed out. There was a loud boom, the mountains collapsed and the rocks cracked, and the earth cracked into cracks. But after the thick fog dispersed, everyone in the audience was shocked, and Zhu Wei opened his mouth wide. That's right, this attack was blocked by someone, and it was no one else, but the general of the tree people, the former tree king. It raised its arms high and crossed its claws with the supergravity monster. The impact force caused a nearby area of the ground to dent. Actually, blocked it, Zhu Wei exclaimed. The power of this impact was at least 50 tons. How did a plant-shaped creature, whose realm was just at the peak of the general, block the attack of the high-level commander? Whoosh! At this time, without waiting for Zhu Wei to react, the jade arrow shot out, piercing the sky, hitting the super-gravity monster from the side, and flipping it off the Tree King. The latter fell heavily to the ground, and kept rolling twice, looking embarrassed. Well done, Aurora encouraged. The Tree King then put down his slightly trembling hands and stood firm. With the strength of the peak general, it also exhausted his strength to take the opponent's attack. But next, it was time for their queen to take over the game. Listen to the call of the forest, Senluo Hell. Aurora raised her left-hand staff, and countless vines were summoned out of thin air. They drilled out from the deep underground and seized the opportunity to surround the super-gravity monster. The latter reacted in time and immediately stood up, cutting the vines with sharp claws, trying to break out. Unfortunately, the Holy Spirit King Dragon was not idle either. It opened its mouth and sprayed out emerald green beams, scaring the super-gravity monster to retreat and almost being hit. That was how the vines completely blocked the road ahead, leaving no way out. Zhu Wei was sweating profusely in anxiety, but he had no idea what to do. At the top, although the fiery sword saint was in a transcendent realm, he was also annoyed by Gatenja. As long as its petrification ray touched it, it would freeze and petrify, and it would be difficult to break free. Don't hold back, use the maximum horsepower for me, the extreme cold blade. Muhan waved his arms. The extreme cold blade began to accumulate power and slashed forward. Then bursts of frost spread out, freezing the clouds. Beside him, Yan Yan, who had just been punished, was unwilling to give up. The golden horns on the top of the purple thunder dragon flashed, and a burst of lightning was launched. Too slow. But in the eyes of Dowdy, these attacks were simply too slow. Its body turned into a golden line, approaching the extreme cold blade at a very fast speed. The light blade passed, cutting everything. The cold light exploded in the air, even the clouds were cut in half. The purple thunder, like wool, broke in half from the middle. The huge aura attacked, and the unaware extreme cold blade was shaken away for hundreds of meters. The purple thunder dragon, because of the backlash, flew backwards. Muhan and Yan Yan couldn't believe it. 1-2, Bai Zi actually had such a terrifying power. The monster called Dowdy did not look like anything at first. But at this moment, they felt a chill. It was as if the other party really had the ability to defeat them. 1-2, and also shook away the extreme cold blade of the half-step leader. What kind of power is this? I have never seen it when I was in the first layer of hell. It is so terrifying. Is the strength of the world star so strong? There was a sound of admiration inside and outside the field. Looking at the big screen, Principal Sulin and Principal Didu couldn't help but nod. The other principals opened their mouths slightly and were also a little shocked. Only the Principal Didu pretended to be calm, but still had lingering fears. What happened to Muhan and Yan Yan? It's just a high-level leader. Why can't the two of them beat it together? The Principal Didu questioned in his heart and roared. He couldn't believe this fact. At the headquarters of the Star Alliance, Wang Ho and the two star commanders watched the battle together, and Wang Na was also beside them. They had a vague feeling that today would be a historic moment, enough to be recorded in the history books. If it was Bai Zi, maybe he could really do it. The battleground was hot, and so were the teams fighting the boss. At this moment, after the barrier was broken, almost all the players in the Eastern Division rushed to the boss. Gradually, the health of the Demon King Satan was reduced to 5%. Its violent form was even stronger, and the offensive waves it emitted were getting more and more intensive. However, the players who were originally united began to disperse at this point in time. Because it was almost time for the last kill. So, on the surface, the players were still fighting together, but secretly they were all approaching the boss. Just wait for the opponent's health to be depleted, and then give a fatal blow. Qin Xinlian chased after Hyperzaton and approached the Demon King. The 6 Sons of God were fighting with Bai Ziyi's team. The strongest player in the Eastern Division is Zhao Qi. He hid in the dark, ready to give the Demon King a fatal blow at any time, take the finishing blow, and score big points for Tianjing province. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. I, Zhao Qi from Tianjing province, will shine in this national competition. No matter what son of God, world star, or title holder, they will eventually become dust under my feet. Zhao Qi clenched his fists and swore secretly. On the other side, after a long game with Tang Qingcheng, the 2 Sons of God finally found an opportunity. Aurora Centaur and Split Sky Seed broke through the blockade of the Dragon of Order and Yinglong. Only the 2 of them, and only the 2 of them broke through the siege. Flashing light arrows and green shells were fired from behind. Fortunately, the Dowdy reacted in time and dodged the attack by turning sideways. Damn, they let them escape. Tang Qingcheng wanted to report to Bai Ziyi, but he just shook his head. At this time, the Aurora Centaur and the Rayquaza had surrounded the Sword and Shield Dowdy from behind. Bai Ziyi glanced around, and the corners of his mouth rose silently. 4-1. It's really interesting. Seeing this, the Sons of God saw Bai Ziyi's contemptuous smile and immediately went crazy. Bai Ziyi, you can still laugh. Our 4 high-ranking commanders have completely surrounded you. This time, you have no chance of winning. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix.